What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on the Today we're working on the Caddy. Yeah. So, long overdue Caddy hybrid front bumper going on this week. I do need to drive the car, so I'm going to leave my one on for now until I've done all the butchering work on that. That is a Golf R Mark 7.5 lower half. Bought it off Facebook Marketplace for 150 quid, and the guy had crashed his car looking for a new bumper. I filled him up with sympathy and said, no, how much do you want for your bumper, mate? I'll give him 150 for it, 4-hour round trip. I am super keen to get this on. We're going to work down at the other garage today at Bumper to Bumper. If you're a subscriber, you'll know where we're going. Anyway, let's get this up on the panel stand and let's have a better look at what's going on, because although my bumper's pretty mint, I do need to butcher it and stick it to that one. Let's get straight into it. Down at the other workshop, we got the bumper on the stand. I have lightly disassembled it. We got the trim covers, the grille light covers. They're a bit fiddly, Jesus. Got them out, managed to not break them. There's a couple more trims that when it comes to painting, I will disassemble more. I haven't taken the centre grille, because if I take too much off it, it's going to become very floppy. So it's the Golf R lower front bumper. We merge it with the Caddy front bumper. If you know about the Caddy scene, you know about a hybrid front bumper. The lower bumpers, just the Golf one, are 500 quid to buy. So when I picked it up for 150, I was happy days. And yeah, to buy these, if to go out and buy one that's already done, all colour coded, etc., they're like 1,000 quid. 1,000 quid. I am not paying £1,000 for a front bumper. Yeah, going to get straight into it. It's already been done as a hybrid. He's crashed it, so unfortunately I do need to work through what he's done. So I've got 80 grit on the sander, on the DA, and I'm literally going to DA this front face and everywhere it joins around it and try and find out what he's done, because I do need to unpick it and make it ready for me to cut my bumper up and stick it to it. No time lapse or anything, because I'm just going to be here with a sander, nothing pretty. I'll explain more what's going on later in the shot. I need to get a sander, there's the sander, need to get an airline, let's get straight into it. So guys, it is the following day. I probably spent 4 or 5 hours in total, a couple yesterday, a few this morning, and it has been a bit of a slog. As I use this from an already previously converted bumper, I've had to clean all the filler from around the joining pieces, and it's took a while, but I have cleaned it back to where it was cut before. First of all, we repaired some cracks. Because it was in an accident, there's the old Caddy bumper looking very, very sorry for itself. I do have to chop my bumper into a similar shape. Hopefully it doesn't look as mutilated as that one, but we shall see. Anyway, I did repair some cracks. Because it was in an accident, we had some cracks to repair. They had busted open. How did I repair those? Well, we've got a stainless steel mesh. And that is just like that. Buy it off eBay in like an A4 sheet, 1mm sized holes. Then we've got a gas soldering torch. Cut a strip to the required length, heat your gas soldering torch up, and just push the metal mesh into the bumper. The plastic comes through the holes, and that is absolutely solid. I've done the outside, I've done the inside. And yeah, there was a few to fix. It did have a bit of an accident. And this bit here, unfortunately, there was pieces missing. I'll show a little clip. You can literally see there was 2 pieces missing. There was a piece on the side and a piece on the top. But a bit of plastic welding, and yeah, all fixed, and we're happy with the repair. What is plastic welding? Well, plastic welding, in a nutshell, is melting plastic, sticking the two together, and then there's loads of different ways you can do it. You can use hot nails, hot pins. You get these squiggly lines that sort of melt in and hold it together. I like to use the mesh. It's stainless steel. You can't rip it. you have to cut it with some tin snips. So now that's in there, that is never going to crack again. I could hang off that, really solid. Anyway, the bumper is ready. Oh, one thing, when you glue it on, you do need to put some screws just to hold it in place until the glue's gone off. I'm going to use Tiger Seal. It's a PU adhesive, and yeah, it's definitely going to stick. So what I'm going to do, rather than make loads more holes, I'm just going to drill out his old marks and then reuse them. And let's just have a little look at the old Caddy bumper. I'm not sure what glue he used, but it isn't a Tiger Seal. It's way too flexible. I did literally just peel this off in the end, happily, because it would have been a while, even worse, to grind it all down. We can see where he's cut, but from my research, I can cut this a bit further back. I don't want too much overhang. I want maybe an inch overhang. The Golf bumper comes up to here, so I'm probably going to chop it about here. Anyway, it's now time to get the front bumper off the Caddy, shiny red paint, and attack it with a saw. I'm not looking forward to this bit. In an ideal world, I'd have another bumper and chop that one up. But I'm not going to waste another 100 quid. I'm going to chop this one up. Let's get the front bumper off, let's strip the grills out, and let's have a look. If you would have said to me 6, 8 months ago, when I spent 2 days making this bumper pretty, that I would be attacking it with a grinder and a saw, I would have said, don't be silly. Don't talk wet. And here we are, 6, 8 months on, and I'm taking it off to cut it up. Paint is fresh. There ain't even any stone chips in it yet. You like the bonnet prop? I'll get round to that another day. Yeah, bumper's off. I'm not looking forward to chopping it up, but for things to get better, they've got to get worse first. The time has come. I am not looking forward to this, but like, if there's a job that you put off or you overthink, you end up not doing it. So just jump straight in. What's going on? I have drawn a line. It dips down a little bit here because there is a cutout on the Golf R bumper, and we need there to be material for them to bond to, so it dips down ever so slightly. Now, if you're using a black plastic Caddy front bumper, happy days, because you haven't got to prep it. Unfortunately, I have to sand all this red area back to bare plastic so I can do some plastic welding and stuff like that. So my thought process here is I'm going to cut a groove with a grinder. I will probably use a air reciprocating saw to cut the line finally, but to make a groove, I'm going to cut a groove where the black line is, then I'm going to DA the plastic back to black. And the reason for doing that is if I cut it now and then try to sand it down, it's going to be very floppy. So I'm going to cut a groove in it, then I'll DA it, then I'll cut it out. Oh man. Oh. Well, that's telling me something. Don't do it! Don't do it! And look, some of you are probably thinking, what is wrong with your old front bumper? It's quite nice actually. Yeah, it is a nice bumper. But the hybrid front bumpers look absolutely awesome. Check out the picture of my mate Darren's Caddy. Yeah, that is absolutely spot on. It looks nice in white. Front bumper is absolutely mean as hell, and that is the same bumper that I'm building. So he has just had a 3.2 V6 petrol engine conversion done, and that was done by AW Automotive, someone called Dan at AW Automotive. Yeah, top work. But that is absolutely the look we are going for. So yes, unfortunately, I need to butcher my fresh bumper, but it should look good. Well, that wasn't the most fun thing I've ever done. It's definitely happening now. Anyway, I am going to go back down to bumper, use their airline. My compressor's a bit peaty. And I'm going to DA all this red back to bare plastic. Then I'll get you back and I'll show you cutting it out with an air saw. Oh man, let's get it done. What did you get up to today? Well, you know my front bumper that looked really fresh. Yeah, I tacked it with a grinder. Anyway, enough looking at it. Obviously the camera's in the wrong position to get a front on shot. And just quickly, this bit that's flapping at the bottom, hopefully you can see that. Some posts I've seen online, they cut that straight off. But that is what holds my under tray. This is a posh Caddy, I've got an under tray. And I want to keep that, so I'm going to have to make the two happen. And you need 10 hands to do this. Literally. Sits about there, but obviously I need to make sure it's central. But it sits there, and if you've seen the other videos, you know I like to do things on my own. That way you can take your time, nothing goes wrong. If something does go wrong, it's your fault, not anyone else's. So I do it all on my ones, but there's no way I'm going to get this done on my ones. So I'm going to go find someone to hold one end up, get it central, get it level. I've drilled out, whoever made this bumper before, I've drilled out his holes. I'm going to hold it in place, drill a couple of holes. Now I'm going to use self-tapping screws, but when you use self-tapping screws, it distorts the plastic, which is going to pull it away and make a gap, and I don't want no gap. So I'm going to drill the holes. Anyway, I'm going to go get someone, offer it up, screw it up, and have a better look. But at the minute, I have made an absolute mess. I'd like to say, oh yeah, but oh nah, fits better. Anyway, a little bit of fettling later, and I did get a helping hand. Thank you, Mr. Pinchin, for the hand. And I've centered it, you can tell by centering it. And now look, I've measured it, and what I've done, I measured it at certain points. I've gone from this second tab, I measured from the swage line. Now I'm not someone that works in inches, but it's spot on 5.5 inches. I prefer mil, but it's fell into an inch position. We'll take that. And we go to the other side, same one, swage line, 5.5 inches. Absolutely spot on. I've also measured the corners, and it's on there. We've lightly screwed it, fitting nice actually. It is a different shape to the Caddy bumper, but it does manipulate into position. Now with the edges, again, looking pretty sweet, sits rather flush. I've gone right to the very end. Now, if you do this, you'll notice that this part of the bumper, the Golf bumper, pops around the outside of the Caddy bumper nicely, and you think, oh, that'll do, I'll leave that there. Well, no, it needs to be flush, and that way I can plastic weld, glue, and make it pretty. Same with the other side, just have a little look. Nice and flush. The splitter does poke out, but that's fine, as long as the bumper edges is nice. And yeah, it does fit really nice. I'm absolutely really happy with that. There's a couple of areas that do just stick out, but I'm going to glue it, and then as the glue's drying, the Tiger Seal, I'm going to plastic weld that in there. I'm not going to go mad and plastic weld the whole thing, because then you'd have mesh all the way around it. It doesn't need that. There's no point in doing extra steps if it doesn't need it. So I'm going to get the bumper off, I'm going to get some pre-clean and a blower and get this dusty stuff off the face of the Caddy bumper and the back of the Golf bumper, and that way the glue, Tiger Seal, it will stick for sure. We don't want it to come apart. At the moment, the screws are holding it. Once the screw's out, it's all on the glue, and we don't want it cracking or falling apart. So just in a few strategic areas, I'm going to plastic weld it. I will get that on shot for you. But yeah, really happy how it's sitting actually. Another couple of hours has passed and I have glued it and I have screwed it, and then I have done a bit of plastic welding. And check that out. What is this wizardry you speak of? That, I run along it with the plastic welder, and that does one of two jobs. It's holding the two surfaces together nice and tight. It's not super strong. You couldn't hang off it because you'd probably pull them apart. And then obviously when you're trying to fill out this to that and smooth it out, this panel is sat on top of that one, so you've got a step. Well, that has beveled the edge. I will run along this and get this little bit with a blade or a sander. And that is how it looks from behind. I did go round with the tiger seal and I put a nice bead. It's not overly pretty. I wanted the back of the bumper to look all right. It doesn't need to look like OEM because obviously it's a hybrid bumper, but I wanted it to look all right. That way, if it ever has to come off or someone else owns it, they're not going to say, what the absolute hell is going on here? And we can see my mesh nicely in the end. Anyway, back's tidy. I'm happy with how it is. I have parked the Caddy up over there. I'm not going to drive it tonight because this polyurethane adhesive takes 12 hours to go off. I want it to be absolutely rock solid, so I'm not going to be driving it round as the glue's going off. So I've got my big van out. That is my house on wheels. To any subscribers that don't know, I do live in the van, and yeah, it needs a run up the road, needs a bit of diesel, and it does need some paint. You can see it's half silver, half black. We done the Mark 7 front end. You might have seen that video. Then we painted the roof silver. If ever you've lived in a van, any dark colours, as soon as the sun comes out, cooking. So I've started to paint the top silver. I'm going to paint the lower half anthracite grey or something like that. But we haven't got to that yet. That is mode of transport for tonight. I will be back. I am going to play with some more bits. Probably going to do some more meshing. And we'll get the filler out tomorrow. 6 o'clock in the evening. I started this at 9 o'clock this morning. So it has taken a few hours. Boy, the days do go fast when you're busy. Anyway, it's day 3 of playing with the bumper. I've taken the screws out, so it's literally hopes, dreams and glue holding it together. Still solid enough. I went round it with the 80 grit on the sander and I've just beveled this edge off a little bit more. I've sanded down the plastic weld, and the reason for that, I want the transition between this bumper and that bumper to be as small as possible. Makes the filler work easier to blend the two together. Sanded it down with 80 grit, pulled the screws out, and then I've run over it with some pre-clean, brake cleaner, anything, just clean it. I don't want anything on there. I want the filler to adhere nicely. I have run some masking tape around the edges where I don't want filler. That's the swage line. We don't want to be sanding over that. There is a swage line down here as well. We've got some tape on there, hammering that gun. We've got some tape on there. That I'll peel off once the filler's done. Anyway, the first bit of filler, there's quite a deep crevasse, shall we put it. And anywhere that's deep, whether you're filling something on a metal panel, something on a door, something on a bumper, if you've got a deep crevasse, I would use fiberglass first. Filler sinks quite bad, so you don't want too thick of filler. And what we've got here, we've got fiberglass out the tin, and we've also got some filler. If you just try using fiberglass, not the matting stuff, the stuff in the tin, if you just try using fiberglass, it's quite hard to work into the areas you want to get it. So mix it 50-50 with filler, makes it more easier to move about, more malleable, easier to work. Mix the two together, bit of hardener. Let me get these mixed up, we'll apply some, and yeah, we're getting another step closer. So look, I only want the fibre fill in the deep part, and that's just to give it a bit of filling up. I don't want it all over the bumper because it is a little bit harder to sand down over straight filler. Always with your first skim of filler, it doesn't look that pretty, so don't worry. Just get it in there, and what I'll do, this will be gone off in about 15-20 minutes, but I want it to go absolutely rock hard. Progress report update. It's nearing the end of day 3 and I've been busy. Not only have I had to do this, I have done an MOT, a service, and my friend Brian popped over, we've done his wheel bearing on an Audi A3. In between that, I have done 3 coats of fiberglass filler. I've loaded it up, waited an hour for it to go rock hard, and then I've just been hitting it with the 80 grit on the sander. I haven't even used the block yet. And yeah, it's looking good. There is just a couple of things I want to point out. Now, if I was to do this again, you can see we've got a high spot sat straight on top of the Caddy bumper. Now, I've seen all the posts on the internet. This is how everyone does it. They just lay the Golf bumper straight over the top of the Caddy bumper. Then you see it in filler, then you see it in primer and paint, and it looks good, but I've never seen one of their bumpers up close. Now, don't get me wrong, they're probably fine. You can just keep filler in it to get it right. But if I was to do it again, if I could wave my magic wand and go back in time, there's the join line. There's the Golf bumper where it meets the Caddy bumper. I personally would do a groove in the back of the Golf bumper, so the plastic is half the thickness, and then I'll do the same groove in the Caddy bumper, about an inch. As you lay the Golf bumper over the top, the 2 bumpers are nearly flat, because where this is sat straight on the top, there is a couple of mil that you've then got to transition in and get it perfect. I would cut a groove on the back and on the front, and that way the 2 are nearly flush. Hopefully you get what I'm trying to say there. That would have made the process of filler work a lot easier. Anyway, we haven't got a magic wand, so it's happening. And what I've done, in a couple of high spots, where I've been rubbing it down with a DA, you're going to rub straight into a high spot really quickly. So every time I've found a high spot, I've hit that with a die grinder to lower the surface and make the transition between the 2 a lot easier. I had to do it quite a bit on the corner to keep the swage line nice. This was sticking up too high. Even though it was glued tight, it was still slightly too high, and it then interferes with the swage line. So anytime I hit a high spot, I've hit it with a die grinder before going over with the second skim. Now it looks good. I've been hitting that with the sander, 80 grit, no blocking yet. I have slightly just gone over my my swage line on the top. I just caught it with the sander, but I've straightened it. Now it's filler time. I'm not going to bore you with filler, and it is quite a big area. If you're not very clued up with filler and you're a bit new to it, you can do it in stages. You could do that area, skim that, wait for that to go off, then you could skim the front and then the other side. That way you're not trying to run round it with the filler before it goes off to make it all pretty, and then you've got loads to think about to get it all right. Get your filler in as nice as possible. I do have to do some little repairs which are a pain in the backside from the accident, so I'm going to focus on getting this smooth, and then I'll go in and I'll filler these after. No more chit chatting about it. I'll just put in a few shots of the work in action. Soon as the filler work's done, we get it in primer, and then we're close to paint. Oh yeah. We are finally there. I started this on Monday morning. It's now Sunday afternoon. I haven't been on it flat out. I have had other jobs in, but it is taking me a while. My pal popped down the other day with his Caddy, and when I said earlier in the video these can cost £1,000, well, they cost up to 1,600 quid if they've got all the fog lights and stuff. Mine's got all the fog lights, so this can cost up to £1,600. I will rephrase that, £1,600 for a front bumper. Big dough. Anyway, we're there. I rubbed my primer down, spent a bit of time on the swage lines, hopefully you've seen. Rubbed it down with 320, well, blocked it. Then I rubbed it down with 500 sander, being extra careful around all the swage lines. I've cleaned it, I've cleaned it, I've cleaned it. Now I'm just giving it a tack rag. Tack rag is a cloth that's slightly tacky. That gets all the debris off. I've still got the same paint that I painted the van with 6 months ago, 8 months ago. Still got the same because I bought a big pot. I haven't got loads of it, a little bit. So just in case I haven't got enough, I'm going to have got some red base coat in the gun, and I'm just going to base it up with some red first. It's called a ground coat, whatever. Then I get the 2-pack. I'll give it a 90% coat, which is 90%. Shiny, but not the full thickness, because if you put 100% on straight away, it's going to run off, and we don't want it running. 90% coat, let it flash off 20 minutes. It's absolutely red as here today. We've gone from winter to summer in the time it's taken me to do this front bumper. Absolutely crazy. Anyway, I get some base coat on it, no more chit chat. Let's get this painted. Oh yeah. It's all finished. I painted it a couple of hours ago. It's been sat in the spray booth, probably about 30 degrees in there, and the oven's not even on. It has come out sweet. Happy with the finish. Happy overall. You might notice in the clip of me painting it, I did have a gun malfunction. I am literally very thorough about cleaning my gun. Last time I used it was painting the Caddy. Cleaned it out obviously, but it's been sat for 8 months. Didn't run any thinners through it. Schoolboy error, happens to everyone. And yeah, I went into the booth, the gun was dripping out of the end, so I quickly went back into the mixing room. I've cleaned the nozzle, got it not dripping, gone to start painting, and on this side, not only is the finish a tiny bit ropey, there is a couple of snotters. Can we see them? Oh, literally, there's a few snotters there and there's a few down the side. After that went wrong, I was very gutted. But I had the paint mixed up. I can't like put the paint away, rub it down and do it again tomorrow. The paint was mixed up. I had to go for it. And I'm happy I did, because literally 2 seconds later the gun cleared out and it's come out absolutely spot on. Yeah, really nice finish. Happy with all the swage lines that I spent ages doing. And these down here, they look sweet. Really happy. I did put 3 coats of paint on it. Normally I'll do a 90% coat, which is shiny. Then I'll go back in there half hour later and I'll do another heavy coat, 100% coat. Gives it the gloss finish. Because I had some nibs in the bodywork trade, you call it load it up, bury it. And what that means is I've put another coat on. There is a few more there as well. Oh. I put 3 coats on and that's given me plenty of paint for me to nib and polish those out. Nibbing and polishing, 2000 grit, bit of water, give it a light tickle off just to smooth it over, give it a polish and it'll all be gone. Happy days. I did do the towing eye cover, that's still hanging up in the booth. Gonna let it sit here in the sun for a couple of hours, fit it up in the morning, let's get it back on. I haven't driven the Caddy in a week. I'm pleased to say I weren't one of those guys who ended up driving bumper in primer. I ended up using my big van. Anyway. The colour is absolutely perfect. I did spin the polish around the wings, up the sides and over the bonnet. I do need to polish the other side still. It's the first time I've been near it with a polish since I painted it. It's still looking super sweet. Yeah, really happy with the bumper. I did put some effort into it. We paid extra attention to the swage lines. Check those out, absolutely perfect. While it's in shot, I need to paint the whole grille gloss black. Need to lose the chrome. Not only is chrome a little bit dated and a little bit old manish if you ask me, the grille and the badge is really faded. It needs to be gloss black, but unfortunately that is a job for another day. Yeah, really happy, super pumped. I did spend a while, but it's paid off in the end. If you're thinking of fitting a hybrid front bumper and it's the Mark III facelift with the fog lights, the washer bottle needs a bit of a tweaking. A good friend of mine, he got the Mark IV washer bottle. That solved that issue, but I saw a post online that you could turn the old washer bottle sideways. So I made a little L bracket, mounted it sideways, put a little bit of lengthening on the hose for the filler neck. I used a bit of radiator hose. It has got a slight kink in it, but it's fine. I didn't Jubilee clip it because it's plastic, it would have squashed it. I just put a cable tie on it. In the words of my favourite YouTuber, that is good enough for the girls we date. So there's a couple of options. Do I put it on there? Yeah, I have seen some down there. I don't mind that. I don't know, I like the look of the grille. It's half a dozen of one, 6 of the other, I think is what you call it. Do I chop the plate down a little bit? Do I put it off to one side? I don't know. Full Vauxhall Nova square one, or Mitsubishi Evo, they have square ones. Leave it out, dog tech. I don't know. Drop a comment. Let me know where you think I should put it. I'm going to leave it in the dash for a couple of days, just so that looks super fresh. I've still got my bits of dirt in that side of the bumper. Can barely see them when it's outside, but I want the paint to go rock hard. Oh, it is rock hard. I'll give it another day. I'll nib it out, polish it, and there'll be no dirt in it. Gloss black front grille. Yeah, happy with that. So the big window that I cut out the Caddy bumper, if you've got a Mark III facelift and you've got no fog lights, my other bumper has got fog lights, grille, doing absolutely nothing. If anyone wants it for free, I'm in Deal in Kent if you want to collect yourself, or send a courier, probably about 20 quid. I'll package them up, you can have them for completely free. Obviously I'll take them out the bumper, you don't need the bumper, but if anyone wants these bits out of my old bumper, they're free. Drop a comment. Anyway, super happy with that. Absolutely pumped, in fact. The headlights are a little bit flaky, you know the way the old the lacquerish goes. I could take them off and lacquer them. Could have done that while it was apart anyway. That is it from this one. T5 video will be up next, and we're going to work on suspension and ball joints and wishbone rubbers. Yeah, that's it for this one. If you enjoyed the video, click the thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. From me and the Caddy, we'll see you in the next one. I'm out.